29-year-old Lu Ming is an ordinary mechanical engineer. After years of frugal living and overtime work saving up money, he finally worked up the courage to propose to his girlfriend of 3 years, Su Wanqing, at a small restaurant.
Nervously getting down on one knee. Wanqing, thank you for staying by my side these 3 years, from having nothing to slowly building some confidence now. Will you marry me?
Eyes glistening with tears, Ming, yes. These 3 years, I've never once regretted choosing you.
The two embraced in tears, as the other diners around them applauded and offered their blessings to this couple who seemed about to reach a happy ending. No one could have imagined that an even bigger storm was just beginning. After the successful proposal, Lu Ming, following tradition, brought betrothal gifts to visit Su Wanqing's mother, Wang Xiaolan, to discuss the wedding, but the moment they sat down, the atmosphere turned subtly tense.
Sizing up Lu Ming coldly, "You're Lu Ming, right? Wanqing tells me you're an engineer at a machinery factory. What's your monthly salary, roughly?"
Answering honestly. Annie, my monthly salary is currently 12,000, plus some project bonuses, so about 170 to 180,000 a year.
Smiling without warmth, 170 to 180,000 a year. So, for our Wanqing to marry you, what are you planning for the dowry? Firmly, the dowry is 1.88 million. A wedding apartment in the city, registered solely under Wanqing's name, plus a car worth no less than 300,000. None of this is negotiable.
Shocked. Auntie, 1.88 million. That's practically an astronomical sum for an ordinary working-class family like ours. I probably couldn't save that much in my entire lifetime.
Sneering coldly, if you can't save it up, then you just don't love our Wanqing enough. Plenty of people want to marry my daughter these days, you'd better think it over yourself.
Troubled, Mom, please don't pressure Lu Ming like this. Can't we talk this through?
Cutting her off, there's nothing to discuss. What do you know, a girl like you?
After leaving the Su family's home, Lu Ming stayed silent the whole way, while Su Wanqing, full of guilt, kept apologizing, trying to soothe his hurt feelings.
Holding Lu Ming's hand, Ming, I'm sorry, my mom's always been like this, so overbearing. Don't take it to heart, let's think of another way, okay?
Smiling bitterly. 1.88 million, plus a wedding apartment, plus a luxury car. Wanqing, your mother is treating this marriage like a business deal.
Looking down, I know it's an unreasonable demand, but Ming, I truly want to be with you. Please, just give us a little more time, okay?
Looking at Wanqing's tearful eyes, Lu Ming's resolve softened, and in the end, he gritted his teeth and decided to do everything in his power to scrape together this dowry. To gather the sky-high dowry, Lu Ming worked overtime relentlessly at the factory while taking on side jobs and part-time work in his spare time, even mortgaging the only small apartment under his name to cash it out.
Exhausted yet resolute. Looking in the mirror. Just a little more, almost there. As long as Wanqing is willing to marry me, all this hardship is worth it.
Worried, Lu Ming's friend Zhang Hao, old Lu, what are you killing yourself over? A 1.88 million dowry, plus a house and a car. You're driving yourself into a corner.
Smiling bitterly. How? I don't have a choice. Wanqing is the one I've set my heart on. I just have to give it everything I've got.
Lowering his voice, old Lu, remember my cousin? 2 years ago, the woman's family also demanded over $1 million in dowry from him. He paid it, the marriage fell through, and the money just vanished into thin air.
Frowning, what? That kind of thing actually happens?
Seriously, I heard that family specifically runs this scam to extort money. You really need to be careful and thoroughly check their background.
Hesitating for a moment. Wanqing isn't that kind of person, I trust her. But I do need to keep an eye on her mother's side of things.
Zhang Hao's warning lodged like a thorn in Lu Ming's heart, planting the first faint seed of unease about this marriage. Out of caution, Lu Ming began quietly monitoring the Su family's activities, and discovered that Wang Xiaolan had several small companies registered under her name that had been dissolved and re-registered repeatedly, their movements quite suspicious.
Muttering to himself while checking the records, these companies of Wang Xiaolan's were all registered for very short periods, and the legal representatives changed hands several times. That's not normal.
What struck Lu Ming as even more suspicious was that while tidying up some old items at Wanqing's house, he stumbled upon a yellowed notebook densely filled with the names, ID numbers, and transfer amounts of several unfamiliar men.
Face suddenly changing. What is this? Why are there so many strangers' identity records and transfer records here?
The more Lu Ming flipped through it, the more alarmed he became. The notebook clearly recorded that over the past 5 years, Wang Xilan had, under Wanqing's name, gotten engaged to 4 different men, each time demanding a sky-high dowry, then breaking off the engagement with various excuses once the money was collected, kicking the man to the curb.
Hands trembling. For people. So I'm not the first. Wanqing has already been used as a marriage fraud tool by her own mother, for times.
The last page of the notebook had a glaring note written on it. Lu Ming, this time expected to collect 2.6 million in dowry and property combined, must initiate the breakup procedure as soon as the property transfer is complete.
Voice trembling. Breakup procedure. So this was a meticulously designed scam from the very start.
Faced with this shocking evidence, Lu Ming found himself caught in an even deeper struggle. Was Wanqing one of the masterminds behind the scheme, or was she just as much a helpless pawn as the other victimized men?
Muttering to himself, Wanqing has always been so good to me. Those tears, that concern, were they all just an act? I really can't tell anymore.
Torn between doubt and a lingering, unwilling to abandon hope, Lu Ming decided to stay calm for now, continue gathering more evidence, and find a chance to test Wanqing's true feelings. Drawing on the leads from the notebook, Lu Ming, after some effort, managed to contact one of the previous victims mentioned in it, an entrepreneur named Zhou Zhan, and arranged to meet him at a quiet tea house.
Bitterly, you're Lu Ming, right? 2 years ago, I was just like you, thinking I'd found true love. In the end, 1.5 million in dowry plus a wedding apartment went down the drain, the marriage never happened, and I couldn't even reach anyone afterward.
Gripping his teacup, Mr. Zhou, what was Su Wanqing's attitude toward all this at the time? Did she know?
Sighing, she always stayed out of sight back then. It was only her mother, Wang Xiaolan, who handled everything. Whether Wanqing knew or not, I can't say for sure, but the money was indeed transferred into an account under her name.
Zhou Zhan's testimony matched the notebook's records perfectly, shattering Lu Ming's last shred of hope completely. It turned out that the love he'd worked so desperately to protect was, to others, just another business deal waiting to be exploited.
Gripping his fists, voice trembling. 2.6 million. I mortgaged my house and borrowed from every relative and friend I have, just to scrape that together, only to be, in someone else's eyes, just a fool ripe for the plucking.
Patting his shoulder, Lu Ming, don't carry this alone. People like us who've been scammed, there's more than just me. If you're willing, we can work together to get justice.
Zhou Zhan's words reignited Lu Ming's fighting spirit. Rather than suffer this humiliation alone, better to unite all the victims and completely uproot this marriage fraud scheme that had been hidden for years.
Eyes turning resolute. Mr. Zhou, thank you for being willing to step forward. If we can get in touch with all the past victims and gather enough evidence, we can definitely get justice for this.
Nodding, I'll help you contact the other 2 victims from before. One is now running a business out of town, the other brought this up recently, gritting his teeth in anger.
Lu Ming also reached out to his college classmate Chen Man, now a practicing lawyer, explaining the situation in detail and asking her advice on how to legally expose this meticulously designed scam.
Flipping through the materials, expression serious. Lu Ming, based on these transfer records, the notebook, and the testimonies from several victims, this already constitutes suspected fraud. As long as the evidence chain is complete, you can absolutely report this to the police and pursue criminal charges.
Solemnly. Chen Man, so what should we do next to lock down the evidence, so Wang Xiaolan doesn't get a chance to destroy it or transfer her assets?
Thinking for a moment, we need to first secretly contact all the victims, gather bank records and chat logs, along with written testimonies, and once we have everything, report to the police all at once, catching her completely off guard.
Under Chen Man's coordination, Lu Ming, Zhou Zhan, and 2 other previous victims, Zhao Gang, who runs a building materials business, and Sun Lei, who runs an online shop, finally came together. The more the 4 of them talked, the more alarmed they became, realizing their experiences were nearly identical.
Indignant, back then, Wang Xiulan demanded 1.6 million in dowry from me, and forced me to transfer my hometown's homestead land to Wanqing too. Once the money arrived, they just vanished.
Gritting his teeth, at the time, I foolishly thought it was my own fault. That's why Wanqing broke off the engagement. Looking back now, from start to finish, we were all pawns in a carefully calculated scheme.
Looking around at everyone, don't lose heart, everyone. This time there are more of us, and the evidence is stronger. We will definitely make Wang Xiulan and her people pay the price they deserve.
Meanwhile, Su Wanqing had also noticed that Lu Ming had been distracted and secretive lately, often only returning her calls late at night and always being evasive, which stirred up an ominous feeling in her heart.
Probing gently, Ming, is there something you're hiding from me lately? Why do you always seem so distracted?
Forcing a smile, covering it up. Nothing's wrong, just a busy work project lately, a bit of pressure.
Thoughtfully, is that so? But why do I feel like the way you look at me has changed?
Sensing time was running short, Wang Xiulan began pressing Wanqing to finalize the wedding date as soon as possible, and urging Lu Ming to settle the remaining dowry and complete the property transfer, afraid of complications the longer things dragged on.
To Wanqing, this marriage can't be delayed any longer. Go press Lu Ming, have him finish the remaining balance and the property transfer this week.
Hesitating, Mom, Lu Ming hasn't seemed quite right lately. Shouldn't we ease off a bit instead of pushing so hard?
Impatiently, ease off. A cooked duck can still fly away if you're not careful. Don't meddle, just do as I say.
After much deliberation, Lu Ming decided to confront Wanqing with part of the truth, to test where her true loyalties lay, with her mother, or as a fellow victim just as trapped as he was.
Looking her straight in the eye, Wanqing, I want to ask you something, and I need you to answer honestly. Is this not the first time you've been engaged?
Face instantly turning pale, how do you know about this?
Staring at her intently, I found your mother's notebook. It records 4 men, scammed for dowries, just like me. Wanqing, tell me honestly, did you know about this all these years?
Breaking down in tears, I knew. I've always known. But I didn't dare resist. My mother has controlled every aspect of my life since I was little. The slightest disobedience meant beatings, threats to cut ties with me. I really didn't know what to do.
Shocked yet heartbroken. Then why didn't you tell me sooner? We could have figured out a way together.
Sobbing uncontrollably, I was afraid that if I told you, you'd hate me, you'd leave me. I genuinely wanted to build a life with you, but I didn't have the courage to betray my mother. I'm sorry, Lu Ming, I'm truly sorry.
Looking at Wanqing, nearly breaking down in tears, Lu Ming felt a mix of emotions. In the end, he chose to trust this girl in front of him, equally a victim, and decided to give her a chance to atone by personally exposing her mother's crimes.
Taking a deep breath, Wanqing, if you truly want to leave this swamp, now is your only chance. Join us in handing the evidence to the police, and personally put an end to your mother's criminal business.
Wiping away her tears, eyes resolute, all right, I'm willing. I'm sick of living in fear and lies. This time I will stand on your side, no matter what.
Taking a great risk, Su Wanqing seized a moment while her mother was out socializing to secretly dig through the home safe, finding more contracts, bank cards, and original blank IOUs signed by several victims, photographing everything and handing it all over to Lu Ming and Chen Man.
Calling anxiously, Lu Ming, I found more evidence. My mother has been using this scheme to scam more than just 4 people over the years. There are still several unused blank contracts sitting in the safe.
Solemnly, Wanqing, you've done well. This evidence is enough to completely solidify your mother's crimes. From here, leave it to lawyer Chen Man to handle. Just be careful yourself, don't get caught.
Sharp as ever, Wang Xiulan soon noticed the home safe seemed to have been tampered with, and combined with Wanqing and Lu Ming's secretive behavior lately, a strong sense of alarm rose within her.
Face darkening, Wanqing, have you been doing something behind my back these past few days? Why does it feel like someone's been going through the safe?
Forcing composure, Mom, you're overthinking it. I've just been busy preparing for the wedding. When would I have time to touch your things?
Narrowing her eyes, I hope that's true. You'd better think carefully about who's giving you the life you have now. Don't try any tricks with me.
Sensing danger closing in, Wang Xilan decisively moved the wedding, originally planned for a month later, forward, and urgently pressed her lawyer to expedite the property transfer overnight, trying to cash out all the assets she could get her hands on before everything was exposed.
Speaking urgently on the phone, tell the lawyer to finish the property transfer tonight, the sooner the better. I don't care how you do it, it must be done before tomorrow.
Wang Xilan's impatience only confirmed what Lu Ming and the others had suspected. She was already feeling guilty, and they had to expose the truth before she could fully get away with it. After an all-night discussion, Lu Ming, Chen Man, and the other victims made a bold decision to play along and let Wang Xilan have her wedding as planned, then expose her years of marriage fraud crimes publicly at the wedding banquet itself in front of everyone.
Analyzing, exposing this at the wedding banquet gives us solid evidence and witnesses on the spot, and also minimizes the risk of her destroying evidence or transferring assets in a desperate panic. This is the best possible timing.
Clenching his fist. All right, let's go with this plan then. I'll turn this wedding into the stage where the whole truth comes out.
On the wedding day, the sun was shining brightly and guests were arriving in droves. Wang Xilan warmly greeted relatives and friends on all sides, completely unaware that mixed quietly into the crowd were several uninvited guests she could never have imagined, the very victims she had scammed out of their dowries.
Beaming with pride, to relatives and friends, today is our Wanqing's big day, everyone please eat and drink to your heart's content.
Standing in the groom's position, Lu Ming watched Zhou Zhen, Zhao Gang, and Sun Lei quietly take their places among the crowd below, along with Chen Man holding a stack of evidence documents. He had already prepared for everything. To maximize the social impact of this exposure, Lu Ming had also specially contacted investigative journalist Lin Wei beforehand, who had previously reported on similar marriage fraud cases, inviting her to attend as an ordinary guest and document this impending reversal in full.
Speaking quietly to Lu Ming, Mr. Lu, I've reviewed all the materials. If the evidence you've provided holds up, this is absolutely a major story that could expose an entire criminal enterprise.
Nodding solemnly. Ms. Lin, all the evidence is genuine. Today, I need you to document all of this, so more people who might be facing a similar scam can be alerted.
The wedding ceremony proceeded as planned. The MC hosted the proceedings with enthusiasm, while Wang Xilan sat at the main table, beaming with pride, utterly unaware of the storm about to erupt in just a few minutes, one that would leave her utterly humiliated and disgraced.
Hosting. Now, let us invite the bride and groom to exchange their vows before all our guests, and commit to spending the rest of their lives together.
Lu Ming's hand trembled slightly as he held the microphone. He knew that every word he spoke next would completely change the fate of this wedding, and the rest of Wang Xilan's life.
Holding the microphone, eyes sweeping across the room. Before we exchange our vows, I'd like to share with everyone here a true story about this marriage.
Face changing. Lu Ming, what do you think you're doing? This is your big day, don't act recklessly.
Calm yet firm. Auntie, no need to worry. I just want everyone here to know that over the past 5 years, using the exact same script, you have scammed 4 men just like me out of a combined total of over 6 million yuan in dowry and assets.
Forcing composure. Nonsense. You're slandering me. Wanqing, say something. Is your boyfriend out of his mind?
Just as Wang Xilan tried to flatly deny everything, Zhou Zhen, Zhao Gang, and Sun Lei, who had been mixed in among the guests, all stood up together beside Lu Ming, and the room erupted into an uproar.
Loudly, Wang Xiaolan, do you remember me? 2 years ago you scammed 1.5 million in dowry and a wedding apartment out of me. Today, I'm here for justice.
Furious, and me 1.6 million, plus my hometown's homestead land, you didn't spare that either.
Seeing her mother still trying to argue her way out, Su Wanqing took a deep breath and resolutely stood up from her position as the bride, confirming everything in front of all their relatives and friends.
Voice trembling yet firm, Mom, that's enough, stop denying it. All of this is true. I'm your daughter, but I've also been your marriage fraud tool for a full 5 years. I'm sick of living in your lies.
Staggering backward, face ashen. Wanqing, how could you do this to your own mother? Wasn't everything I did for you, so you could have a better life?
Tearfully furious, you never once considered me. All you cared about was money and your own face.
Chun Man stepped forward at just the right moment, presenting the guests with a complete set of detailed evidence. Bank transfer records, Wang Xilan's own handwritten notebook, and written testimonies from several victims. The evidence chain was thorough and airtight, clear for everyone present to see.
Holding up the evidence, everyone, this is the complete evidence of Ms. Wang Xiaolan's suspected contract fraud, using marriage as a cover, over the past 5 years. I have already notified the police simultaneously. Please remain orderly and cooperate with the investigation.
As soon as she finished speaking, several plainclothes police officers who had been waiting nearby quickly entered the banquet hall and, in front of everyone, presented their credentials to Wang Xiaolan.
Showing his credentials, Wang Xiaolan, we've received a report alleging contract fraud. We are now summoning you for questioning in accordance with the law. Please cooperate with the investigation.
Collapsing to the ground. No. This can't be happening. Everything I have is over. Wanqing, how could you do this to me?
Turning away, no longer looking at her, Mom, this isn't something I did to you. This is the bitter fruit you planted with your own hands, over all these years.
The once high and mighty Wang Xiaolan, who had treated marriage as a business to run, was taken away by police in full view of everyone, and the marriage fraud enterprise she had painstakingly built collapsed along with her. After the storm at the wedding subsided, Lu Ming, Su Wanqing, Zhou Zhen, Zhao Gang, and Sun Lei all went together to the police station to cooperate with the investigation and give detailed statements. These victims, once scattered across different places, each swallowing their own bitter fruit alone, had finally reached the day they could seek justice.
Relieved, we finally made it to this day. That knot in my chest all these years can finally be released today.
With feeling, thanks to old Lu for being willing to stand up and unite us all, otherwise this might have continued to harm the next person.
As the investigation deepened, Wang Xiaolan's husband, Su Jiangwo, who had been secretly helping forge contracts and transfer assets, was also quickly summoned by police to assist with the investigation. This years-long marriage fraud enterprise's total sum far exceeded what the group had initially estimated.
Reporting to Lu Ming, word from the police is that they've found several suspicious money laundering transactions under Su Jiangwo's name. This case might be even more serious than we thought.
With feeling, I never imagined this was a scheme meticulously planned and coordinated by the entire family for years. Fortunately, the truth has finally come to light.
After the case settled, one quiet evening, Lu Ming and Su Wanqing sat on a bench by the river, having a rare heart-to-heart, talking about their true feelings after all this turmoil.
Softly, Lu Ming, thank you for being willing to trust me and give me the chance to personally expose all of this. Otherwise, I might have lived my whole life in my mother's shadow and lies.
Gently, Wanqing, the fact that you found the courage to stand up and testify against your own mother already proves that you and she are completely different kinds of people.
Smiling bitterly, it's just that after this whole ordeal, I suppose we can't go back to that innocent feeling we once had. It must be hard for you to fully trust me like before, right?
Honestly, Wanqing, to be honest, after everything that's happened, we really can't go back to how things were at the start. I admire the courage you showed in the end, but once love has been tainted with this much deception and hurt, it's not easy to start completely fresh.
Nodding through tears, I understand, I won't force it. I just hope that in the future, you find someone truly worth entrusting your whole life to, someone without any lies.
Solemnly, Wanqing, let's just be a special part of each other's life journey. Thank you for that final act of courage, and I wish you a life where you can truly live for yourself.
After the wedding storm, Su Wanqing proactively moved out of the home filled with lies and manipulation, relocating alone to another city, finding an ordinary job and trying to build an honest, stable life through her own two hands.
Looking in the mirror, eyes resolute, from now on, I'm going to live for myself, and never again let anyone treat me as a tool or a pawn.
Free from her mother's control and scheming, Wanqing's life, though modest, had for the first time given her a genuine sense of stability and freedom that belonged entirely to herself. After the case was exposed, Lin Wei's in-depth report quickly drew widespread public attention. Lu Ming, Zhou Zhen, Zhao Gang, and Sun Lei decided to join together and share their personal experiences through the media, warning more people to be wary of similar marriage fraud schemes.
In front of the camera during an interview, this case reveals a deeply hidden new form of marital fraud. We hope our report can help more people stay vigilant and avoid falling into the same trap.
Facing the camera. If you're experiencing something similar, please keep an extra eye out and thoroughly verify the other party's real background. Don't let your sincerity and hard-earned money feed the wrong person.
After this ordeal, though Lu Ming lost a large sum of savings and even his only property, he gained a more clear-headed, resilient mindset. He replanned his life, focused on his career, and no longer let himself be easily swayed by sweet talk on the surface.
To Zhang Hao, after this whole thing, I've truly come to understand that when it comes to love, sincerity alone isn't enough. When it's time to keep your eyes open, you absolutely cannot afford to be careless.
Patting his shoulder, old Lu, it's already impressive that you can think of it this way. The road ahead is still long, don't lose heart.
A few months later, drawing on his solid technical skills and the resilience he'd built up during this period, Lu Ming landed the position of lead on an important project at work, seeing a real leap in both salary and status. Through his own effort, he also gradually bought back the house he had once mortgaged to gather the dowry.
Standing at the completion side of his new project, with feeling. Looking back on this whole journey, I went through a lot of hardship and got badly scammed once. But it's precisely these experiences that made me a more clear-headed and stronger version of myself.
The night the verdict came out, Lu Ming, Zhou Zhen, Zhao Gang, and Sun Lei rarely gathered together for a celebratory dinner. Wang Xiulan and Su Jiangwo were ultimately sentenced to 12 and 9 years in prison respectively for contract fraud, along with fines, and ordered to return all illegally obtained assets involved in the case.
Raising his glass, here's to us, a bunch of unlucky souls who finally saw the clouds part and the moon shine through. Not one bit of the justice owed to us was left behind.
Raising his glass in response. And here's to our courage, no longer naive, no longer backing down. Let's all live well from here on out.
At sunset, Lu Ming stood alone on the balcony of his newly purchased apartment, gazing at the bustling street below. The scam that had once nearly bankrupted him and drained him emotionally had now completely turned the page. He understood deeply that true happiness was never built on money and lies, but on clear-headedness, honesty, and enough courage.
Gazing into the distance, eyes calm and firm. This time, I've finally understood. A relationship truly worth entrusting your whole life to never needs a sky-high dowry to prove itself. Only the sincerity of two people being honest with each other.
Turning the clock back further, Su Wanqing's childhood was actually far from happy. Her father was away from home for long stretches, while her mother Wang Xiulan controlled every detail of her life with near-punishing strictness, from what she wore and ate to her friendships and relationships, all under tight surveillance and interference.
Recalling, voice trembling, since I was a child, I never dared to have my own thoughts. The moment I showed even a hint of defiance, my mother would lock herself in her room, refusing to eat or drink, saying I had upset her health so badly. That guilt weighed on me until I could barely breathe.
It was this years of relentless emotional manipulation that taught Wanqing, from a young age, to be obedient and suppress herself, and it was why, even as an adult facing her mother's scheme after scheme of marriage fraud, despite her reluctance, she never found the courage to truly stand up and resist. According to what police later uncovered while digging deeper into the case, Wang Xiulan's very first scam began 7 years earlier. At a time when her family business had failed and she was deep in debt, she hit upon this scheme, setting her sights on her daughter who had just turned 20. Having tasted the ease of profiting without effort for the first time, she couldn't stop herself afterward.
A memory fragment from years ago, smugly. I never imagined it would be this easy to get this much money, far easier than running any actual business.
From then on, Wang Xiulan completely turned her daughter's marriage into a tool for her own profit, repeatedly and meticulously packaging Wanqing, using a sky-high dowry as the threshold to filter her prey, taking pleasure in the scheme each time. After deciding to expose everything publicly at the wedding, Chen Man began an even more meticulous and thorough process of sorting through the evidence, bringing her team to verify every single transfer record one by one, and even personally visiting the real estate agencies that had handled several property transfers back then, to ensure the entire evidence chain was airtight.
To Lu Ming, the bank records have been verified. Several large transfers match the timeline described by the victims perfectly. This part of the evidence is essentially locked in.
Nodding. Thank you for all your hard work on this, Chin Man. Once this is all settled, I'll definitely treat you to a proper meal. Thank you for being so dedicated.
Waving it off, we've been classmates for years, of course I'd help you at a time like this. Besides, this is also about upholding justice, it's the least I can do.
While sorting through Wang Shilan's notebook, Chun Man unexpectedly discovered an even earlier recorded victim she'd been unable to reach. A man named Han Dong. According to the records, he was the very first victim scammed out of a dowry 5 years earlier, but there had been no trace of him since.
Frowning, this Mr. Han Dong's phone number and address are both disconnected or vacant now. I have no idea what happened to him over these years.
Worried. Could it be that after being scammed such a massive sum back then, he did something drastic out of despair? We need to find a way to look into this.
After much effort, Lu Ming and the others finally managed to contact Han Dong through the owner of the wedding planning company that had handled the case back then. It turned out that after being scammed, he had spiraled into despair and moved far away, only managing to slowly rebuild his life in recent years by running a small food stall.
Overwhelmed with emotion, I never imagined that after all these years, anyone would still be willing to stand up for this. Back then, I was scammed out of everything, and I didn't even dare report it to the police, afraid people would laugh at me for being foolish enough to get scammed.
Solemnly. Brother Han, this isn't your fault. That group was simply too cunning. Now we've gathered everyone together and the evidence is complete. This time, we're going to make sure they cough up everything they owe.
Nodding firmly, count me in. I've been choking on this for so many years, and today I've finally gotten the chance to reclaim justice.
Sensing something was off, Wang Shilan actually had someone reach out to Zhou Zhen, trying to privately buy his silence with a hush payment, but was met with a flat refusal.
Relaying a message through an intermediary, Mr. Zhu, the past is the past. As long as you're willing to never bring up what happened back then, we're willing to compensate you an additional 200,000 as a settlement.
Sneering, refusing outright, 200,000? Back then you scammed 1.5 million out of me, and now you think 200,000 will make me shut up. Tell Wang Xiulan I'm dead set on getting justice this time, not 1 cent less.
This clumsy bribery attempt not only failed to calm the storm, but further confirmed that Wang Xiulan had a guilty conscience, and only strengthened the victim's resolve to expose her together. Noticing her daughter Wan Qing had seemed distracted these past few days, Wang Xiulan also grew suspicious. One night, she called Wan Qing into her room alone, her words dripping with blatant threats.
Coldly, Wan Qing, I'm warning you, this wedding must go smoothly. If you dare ruin your mother's plans, you'd better think carefully about the consequences.
Forcing back her fear, head lowered, Mom, I understand, I won't do anything reckless.
On the surface, Wan Qing chose to comply, but deep down she had already made up her mind. This time, no matter what, she would personally put an end to her mother's years-long criminal business. The night before the wedding, the hotel's decoration team worked overtime through the night, dressing up the entire banquet hall in splendor. Flowers, a champagne tower, and a huge portrait of the newlyweds, everything in place. No one could have imagined that behind this festive scene, a scandal capable of shaking the whole city was about to unfold.
To his staff, everyone, check the sound and lighting equipment one more time. This is Boss Wan's daughter's wedding, we can't afford a single mistake.
The busy staff moved back and forth, completely unaware that this meticulously arranged wedding was about to become the stage for exposing the truth. The night before the wedding, Lu Ming sat alone in his rented apartment, staring at the framed photo of the proposal on the wall, his emotions in turmoil. He couldn't help but ask himself, was exposing everything tomorrow really the only right choice?
Muttering to himself, if I hadn't found that notebook, maybe I'd still be foolishly thinking I was about to have a happy marriage. But at this point, exposing everything seems like the only way forward.
After wrestling with it, Lu Ming still chose to stand firm in his resolve. Rather than a marriage built on lies, he wanted a clean, guilt-free life. On the morning of the wedding, guests arrived one after another. Besides relatives and friends from both sides, quite a few were Wang Shilan's business associates, all dressed sharply, smiling warmly, offering their congratulations for this seemingly perfectly matched union.
Making small talk, Boss Wang, your son-in-law is quite the catch, and an engineer too, with a bright future ahead. You've really found Wan Qing a good match.
Smiling with pride, oh, not at all. Wanqing is just lucky to have found such a steady, hard-working husband.
Wang Xiulan's face beamed with confidence and pride, unaware that these very compliments she'd spoken herself would, within a few hours, become the most ironic joke of all. Half an hour before the wedding began, Lu Ming used a bathroom break as an excuse to send a brief coded text message to Zhou Zhan and the others waiting nearby. Proceed as planned. The group exchanged glances upon receiving it, and quietly dispersed to blend into different seats among the guests, waiting for the signal to act.
Speaking quietly to Zhao Gang, it's almost time, let's split up and take our positions. Remember, once old Lu starts speaking, we all stand up together, don't blow our cover early.
Nodding, don't worry, I've waited 2 years for this day, I can wait another half hour.
Faced with the victims arriving one after another and her own daughter's public testimony, Wang Xiulan initially tried various excuses to deflect, first claiming it was a malicious smear from a business rival, then trying to stir up sympathy from relatives and friends. But faced with solid evidence and layer upon layer of witnesses, every one of her denials rang increasingly hollow.
Screaming hoarsely, "Did you people take money to come cause trouble? I, Wang Xiulan, have been in business for years, I've weathered every kind of storm, don't think you can scare me today."
Coldly, Wang Xiulan, stop denying it. The money you scammed from me, along with the original IOUs you signed back then, are all right here today. How much longer are you going to keep denying it?
Each accusation, delivered like a heavy blow, struck at Wang Xiulan's psychological defenses one after another, until her forced facade finally collapsed completely, right in front of everyone. Months after the incident, this sensational series of marriage fraud cases finally went to trial. Lu Ming, Su Wanqing, Zhou Zhen, Zhao Gang, Sun Lei, and Han Dong, all 6 of them, appeared in court as witnesses. The courtroom was packed, with quite a few media reporters also present to cover the proceedings.
Stating the case, investigation shows that the defendant, Wang Xiulan, in collaboration with her husband Su Jiangwo, has, since 7 years ago, repeatedly used marriage as a cover to defraud 5 victims of a combined total of over 9 million yuan in property. The circumstances are extremely severe.
Sitting in the defendant's seat, face ashen, silent.
Wang Xiulan, once so high and mighty and full of arrogance at the wedding banquet, now sat in the defendant's seat, all of her former arrogance long gone, leaving only a look of utter dejection and regret.
On the witness stand, expression resolute. Your Honor, what I want to say is that this is not just a matter of financial loss, but a complete violation of the most basic trust between people. I hope the law can restore justice to us, and ensure others don't fall into the same trap we did.
Recording, the court has fully noted your statement. Please continue to cooperate with the ongoing investigation process.
Lu Ming's clear, composed statement won nods of agreement from many in the gallery. This lawsuit was no longer just a private grievance among a few individuals, but a public trial concerning social trust and integrity as a whole. After several rounds of court proceedings, the court finally delivered its verdict on the spot. The defendant Wang Xiulan, guilty of contract fraud, sentenced to 12 years in prison plus a fine of 1 million yuan. The defendant Su Jiangwo, guilty of contract fraud, sentenced to 9 years in prison plus a fine of 500,000 yuan, with both ordered to return all illegally obtained proceeds.
Reading the verdict, this concludes the trial. Court adjourned.
The moment the gavel fell, a long-suppressed, finally relieved sigh rippled through the gallery. The 5 victims' hearts, weighed down for so many years, could finally rest. Walking out of the courthouse into the bright sunshine, Lu Ming, Zhou Zhen, Zhao Gang, Sun Lei, and Han Dong exchanged a smile, the shadow that had weighed on their hearts for years finally dissipating with this long-overdue verdict.
With feeling, I waited 5 whole years for this day. Today, I can finally stand tall and start living again.
Patting his shoulder, we all need to live well from here on out. It's a small blessing amid misfortune that we were able to support each other through all of this to get here.
After Lin Wei's in-depth investigative report was published, it quickly sparked heated discussion across the entire internet. Many netizens left comments sharing their own or someone close to them's experiences with similar scams, and sky-high dowries and marriage fraud quickly became hot topics of widespread social discussion.
In an interview, The huge public response to this case exactly proves that this kind of hidden danger is far from an isolated incident. I hope relevant authorities can take this opportunity to further improve related laws and regulations, to protect more potential victims.
The ripple effects of this report even prompted local authorities to introduce more detailed regulatory guidelines targeting the chaos of sky-high dowries. An unexpected yet valuable social outcome of this whole ordeal. A year later, Su Wanqing, in an unfamiliar city, had worked her way up from an ordinary front desk clerk to a small department supervisor through sheer effort, burying that past shadow deep in her heart and striving to live as a completely new version of herself.
Smiling at a new coworker, I used to feel like a puppet controlled by others. Now I finally understand that every step of my life is actually something I can decide for myself.
Occasionally, in the dead of night, she would still think of that scam that nearly destroyed her life, but more than anything, she felt a genuine, deep pride in the version of herself who had found the courage to personally expose her mother's crimes. Lu Ming, meanwhile, grew increasingly successful at work, not only receiving internal company recognition for leading a project, but also being invited to speak at a seminar for recent graduates, sharing his own turbulent experience and reminding young people to stay rational and clear-headed when it comes to love and marriage.
Facing the young audience below, love can be passionate, but it should never be blind. Before making any major decision, understanding more and verifying more is the greatest responsibility you owe yourself.
The audience erupted into warm applause. The scam that had once nearly cost him everything had now become a valuable piece of experience and wealth in his life. Another year passed. Zhou business flourished once again. Zhao Gang built a new house, Sun Lei's online shop kept growing, and Han Dong's food stall turned into a small restaurant. Every single person once hurt by this scheme was, in their own way, striving to build a brand new life for themselves. And Lu Ming, gazing out at the bustling city nightscape through his window, felt a sense of stability he'd never known before. He finally understood, what's truly worth relying on was never a marriage certificate or a dowry, but the version of yourself that, after weathering the storm, still chooses honesty, kindness, and clear-headedness moving forward. Upon learning that their son had not only mortgaged his house but also borrowed from every relative and friend, he had just to gather this sky-high dowry, Lu Ming's parents rushed overnight from their hometown to the city, urging him with worried faces to reconsider.
Heartbroken, Ming, Mom knows you truly love Wanqing, but 1.88 million plus a house and a car, how many years of debt would that leave you with? Mom is genuinely worried about you.
Forcing lightness. Mom, don't worry, I'm young, I can handle it. As long as Wanqing truly wants to build a life with me, I can bear this hardship.
Sighing, son, marriage is a lifetime commitment. It can't be sustained by a moment's impulse and gritted teeth alone. You really need to think this through carefully.
At the time, Lu Ming didn't fully take his parents' advice to heart, and it wasn't until he later discovered the truth that he regretted not calming down sooner to weigh things carefully.
Thoughtfully, the more I think about this sky-high dowry business, the more it doesn't sit right with me. No matter how much a family values marrying off their daughter, they wouldn't normally demand this much. You really need to look into that woman's family background.
Dismissively. Dad, are you overthinking this? Wanqing genuinely cares about me. Her mother probably just cares a lot about appearances.
Looking back on it later, Lu Ming came to understand that his father's simple instinct had already, back then, sharply picked up on something being off. It was just that, deeply in love at the time, he hadn't truly listened. After sensing something was wrong, Zhang Hao proactively helped Lu Ming get in touch with a private investigator he knew to help more systematically investigate the tangled web of financial dealings behind the Su family, as well as those shell companies that kept being registered and dissolved.
Introducing him, Old Lu, this is a detective I've worked with before. He's excellent at digging up records and backgrounds. With his help, we'll definitely uncover the shady dealings behind Wang Xiulan's companies faster.
Flipping through the files, I did a preliminary check, and these companies all have inflated registered capital, with frequent changes in legal representatives. This looks like shell companies specifically used for laundering money through transactions. There's likely more to this than meets the eye. Analyzing. Looking at the flow of funds, every time a dowry payment came in, Wang Xiulan would route it through these shell companies in multiple transfers, eventually splitting it up and depositing it into several different relatives' accounts. A step-by-step money laundering process, quite sophisticated.
Gritting his teeth, what a well-oiled scheme, scamming money and laundering it in one seamless operation. Good thing we've now got a clear picture of every step involved.
With this detailed report on the flow of funds from the private investigator, Chun Man's evidence chain became even more complete, providing crucial leads for recovering the stolen assets afterward. During further follow-up investigations, Lu Ming and the others learned the specific details of how Zhao Gang was scammed back then. At the time, he had just saved up his first bit of capital through hard work, full of joy preparing to start a family, only to be scammed out of everything by Wang Xilan using the exact same scheme.
Recalling, voice low, back then, I invested everything I'd saved from my building materials business, and even transferred my hometown's only homestead land to Wanqing. In the end, the wedding fell through, and I never got the money back. It took me years to rebuild from scratch.
The more Lu Ming learned about each victim's story, the stronger his resolve grew to completely expose the scheme. Sun Lei's experience was even more heartbreaking. Back then, just as his online shop was starting to take off, he emptied nearly all of his shop's working capital to gather the dowry, causing his shop's cash flow to break down and nearly go bankrupt. During that period, he barely scraped by on his parents' support and help from friends.
Smiling bitterly, that period was truly the lowest point of my life. My shop nearly went under, my girlfriend left me, and plenty of people around me laughed at my bad luck. Looking back now, that wasn't bad luck at all, it was a carefully engineered trap.
The three victims, each with their own yet strikingly similar experiences, together painted a complete picture of Wang Xilan's years of meticulously planned, repeatedly successful marriage fraud scheme. A few days before the wedding, Chun Man had already contacted a trusted police officer in advance, explaining the case in detail and coordinating the exact timing of the operation, to ensure police could intervene the moment the exposure happened, before Wang Xilan had any chance to transfer assets or flee.
To Chun Man, we've done a preliminary verification of the evidence materials, and it's basically enough to establish suspicion of contract fraud. As soon as you give the signal, our plainclothes officers will arrive on scene immediately and handle it according to the law.
Solemnly, thank you all for your hard work. This has dragged on for far too many years. This time, we're determined to completely uproot this group, once and for all.
The moment Lu Ming spoke the truth aloud in front of everyone, the once joyful wedding banquet instantly erupted into chaos. Many guests whispered among themselves, while others, in disbelief, repeatedly asked those around them whether all of this was really true.
Shocked, oh my god, is this really true? Boss Wang's family actually scammed this much money through this scheme?
Shaking his head, no wonder I kept hearing Wanqing had been engaged several times before, so this is what was really going on.
The crowd buzzed with a mixture of shock, anger, and a hint of spectacle, and this once glamorous wedding instantly became the biggest talking point of the entire banquet. During the trial, the defense lawyer hired by Wang Xilan's side tried to argue for a lighter sentence, citing first-time offense and family financial hardship, but faced with the reality of a systematic fraud scheme spanning 7 years and involving 5 victims, these arguments proved utterly weak.
Defending Your Honor, the defendant Wang Xilan's criminal motive stemmed from her family's business difficulties, not premeditated malice. We request the court consider a lighter sentence.
Refuting, spanning 7 years, involving 5 victims, with amounts totaling over 9 million yuan, and highly consistent methods with a clear division of labor, this fully matches the characteristics of a habitual, systematic fraud scheme, with no mitigating circumstances whatsoever.
The prosecutor's clear, well-reasoned rebuttal completely dismantled the defense lawyer's argument, and drew a long sigh of relief from the victims sitting in the gallery. Compared to Wang Xilan's defiance, her husband Su Jiangwo appeared especially dejected during the trial. Faced with irrefutable evidence, he ultimately chose to honestly confess the entire process of helping forge contracts and transfer assets.
Regretful, in a low voice, I was foolish. At first I did object to Xilan doing this, but once I tasted the benefits, I gradually let my conscience slip and went along with these shameful acts. I'm sorry to all of you brothers, and I'm sorry to Wanqing.
Though Su Jiangwo's belated remorse didn't lessen his legal responsibility, it did provide some measure of relief to the resentment the victims and Wanqing had carried for so long. After the lawsuit concluded, one ordinary weekend, Lu Ming invited Zhang Hao out for drinks, reminiscing about everything that had happened over the past half-year or so, raising their glasses in reflection on this bizarre experience that had nearly pushed Lu Ming to the brink, only to bring him back stronger than ever.
Raising his glass. Old Lu, honestly, back when you insisted on scraping together that 1.88 million dowry, I was genuinely worried sick for you. Looking back now, thank goodness you weren't completely wiped out and managed to pull through.
Smiling bitterly, clinking glasses. Yeah, this whole ordeal was a real crash course in life. From now on, whether in love or business, I need to keep my guard up. I can't act on pure passion alone anymore.
After escaping her mother's control, Su Wanqing had also fallen into a period of serious self-doubt and emotional low. Later, on a friend's suggestion, she began seeing a therapist regularly, slowly working through and processing the trauma she'd been carrying for years.
To her therapist, it took me a long time to slowly understand that none of this was my fault. I was simply a victim who'd been stripped of any choice since childhood. Now, I'm finally willing to try trusting myself again.
This long and difficult process of self-healing gradually helped Wanqing emerge from the shadow of her past, and for the first time, she truly gained ownership over her own life. After the verdict, several media outlets specially invited experts in marriage and family law to give in-depth analysis, urging the public to stay vigilant in matters of love and marriage, while also recommending that relevant authorities further regulate the chaos around sky-high dowries.
In an interview, this case has sounded an alarm for society. We recommend that when large sums of property are involved in marriage matters, people always sign written agreements and keep relevant proof, so they can promptly seek legal recourse if their rights are ever violated.
The experts' calls further push society to reflect on the chaos of sky-high dowries, elevating the case's cautionary significance beyond the personal grievances of those involved, into a public discussion of broad social value. After the report was published, Lu Ming continued to receive private messages from strangers online, thanking him for being willing to stand up and share his experience. Several netizens even admitted that it was seeing this report that helped them recognize and avoid a similar scam happening around them.
Relaying a message, Mr. Lu, thank you for bravely coming forward back then. I almost fell victim to a similar family demanding a sky-high dowry recently, but luckily, after reading your story, I stayed alert, verified the details, and indeed found something was off, and got out in time.
With feeling, I never imagined my own experience could actually help so many complete strangers. This is probably the one silver lining worth being grateful for in this whole ordeal.
A year or so later, Han Dong's small restaurant had already become somewhat well-known locally. A photo of him with Lu Ming, Zhou Jin, Zhao Gang, and Sun Lei still hung on the wall, and whenever a regular customer asked about the story behind it, Han Dong would tell with feeling this hard-won story of rebirth.
To a customer, these guys are brothers who've been through hell and back with me. We survived a huge storm together back then. Without them, there'd be no this little shop of mine today.
Once scammed out of everything and forced to flee far from home, Han Dong had, through his own hands and the support of these brothers, rebuilt a solid, fulfilling life for himself. As time continued to move forward, Lu Ming, Wanqing, along with Zhou Zhen, Zhao Gang, Sun Lei, and Han Dong, gradually returned to their own peaceful, busy lives. But the ordeal they had shared together had forged a bond between them that went beyond ordinary friendship, and they would still occasionally get together to support one another. And that once sensational marriage fraud case gradually faded from public attention, replaced by newer news, but the warning it left behind, like a seed, quietly took root in many people's hearts, reminding those who came after, true happiness can never be bought with lies, money, or manipulation. News of everything that happened at the wedding quickly reached Lu Ming's parents back in their hometown. The elderly couple, both relieved and heartbroken, rushed overnight to the city, and only fully relaxed once they saw their son was safe.
Hugging her son, choking up, Ming, you've suffered so much. Mom always felt something was off about that family, I just never imagined it was such a massive scam. As long as you're safe, nothing else matters more.
Patting his son's shoulder, good thing you didn't just accept defeat in the end, and join together with everyone to expose the truth. You did the right thing, son, I'm proud of you.
His parents' simple yet warm words finally let Lu Ming's tense nerves relax a little after this whole ordeal. He understood deeply that no matter how complicated the outside world got, his family's support would always be his most solid backing. After the storm at the wedding subsided, the hotel and wedding planning company also had a series of aftermath matters to handle. Fortunately, Lu Ming had already arranged with Chun Man beforehand to set aside some funds to compensate the venue for reasonable losses, trying to minimize the impact of this incident on innocent third parties.
To Lu Ming, we never imagined something like this would happen today. But we do appreciate the way you've handled the aftermath. We'll calculate the refund amounts promptly.
Sincerely, sorry for the trouble. This really had nothing to do with you all. We'll take responsibility for whatever we owe, and won't let you be dragged into this for nothing.
The video clip of the exposure at the wedding, secretly filmed by some guest, was quietly uploaded online. Overnight, the sky-high dowry marriage fraud case shot to the top of trending topics, with tens of thousands of comments pouring in, reflecting starkly different public opinions.
Relaying a comment, this woman is truly ruthless, using her own daughter as a cash cow for 5 whole years. Chilling to even think about.
Relaying another comment, this should really make people reflect on the sky-high dowry culture in some places these days, or similar tragedies will just keep repeating.
The overwhelming wave of discussion turned what was originally just a handful of ordinary people's ordeal into a nationwide conversation about attitudes toward marriage and social norms. After the verdict, Su Wanqing gathered the courage to visit her father Su Jiangwo in detention, the first face-to-face conversation between father and daughter since the case broke.
Guiltily, through the glass, Wanqing, Dad is sorry. All these years, I knew what your mother was doing was wrong, but I still chose to turn a blind eye. It was my own cowardice that dragged you into this.
Holding back tears, Dad, I don't want to dwell too much on the past. I just hope you can properly reflect while you're in there. Going forward, I'll try to relearn how to trust the people around me.
This brief conversation through the glass didn't completely heal the years-long rift between father and daughter, but it did give Wanqing's long-suppressed sense of family a small, belated release. A year later, Lu Ming, at an industry networking event, met a female engineer named Lin Xiaoman, also working in mechanical design. The two gradually grew close over shared professional topics, their conversations free of lies or scheming, filled only with plain, sincere exchange.
Smiling, Engineer Lu, I heard you went through quite a bizarre story before, and it even made the news?
Smiling with relief. Yeah, but that's all in the past now. Going through that ordeal actually made me realize even more clearly what kind of relationship I actually want. Nothing dramatic, just something real and honest.
Lu Ming wasn't in a rush to start a new relationship, but this plain, sincere encounter quietly gave him a sense that life was slowly moving toward a more stable, hopeful direction. As the city's night gradually descended, lights coming on one by one across the skyline, Lu Ming stood on the balcony of his new home, gazing at the brightly lit streets in the distance, letting out a soft breath. Along this journey, he had lost money and lost his naivety about love, but he had also gained a clear-headedness and resolve that only comes after weathering the storm.
Gazing up at the night sky, murmuring softly, a sky-high dowry can't buy sincerity. Only honesty and clear-headedness are truly the most precious gifts in any relationship.
The night breeze swept across the city, its countless lights still twinkling like stars. This storm, which began with a sky-high dowry and ended in a public trial, had finally come to a close, and a brand new life for everyone involved was just beginning. Just as the case was about to close, private investigator Old Zhao made a new discovery. It turned out that even before moving to her current city, Wang Xilan had already run a similar scam in another city under a different identity, but the victim at the time had chosen to endure it silently and never reported it, which was why this earlier history had remained undiscovered until now.
Reporting to Chin Man, Counselor Chin, I've found another lead. A few years ago, in a neighboring province, there seems to have been an almost identical case reported to police. No formal investigation was opened, but the method described by the victim matches our case exactly.
Solemnly, this lead is important. I'll contact the local police right away to investigate. If it checks out, the number of victims in this case may need to be revised upward again.
Sure enough, as media coverage of the case continued to spread, a victim from a neighboring province, who had suffered a similar scam years earlier, proactively contacted Chen Man, providing further corroborating evidence. As a result, the scale of the case was reassessed, further increasing the severity of Wang Xilan's sentence.
Excited, over the phone, seeing the news is how I found out that the woman who scammed me all those years ago has continued to harm others all this time. This time, no matter what, I need to step forward and submit my evidence too.
Reassuring. Don't worry, we'll submit this evidence to the court right away. Every additional testimony adds more weight to ensuring they get exactly what they deserve.
After the case concluded, in a casual conversation, Zhang Hao finally told Lu Ming in detail about what happened to his cousin after being scammed back then. It turned out his cousin had also chosen to silently endure it and never reported it to the police, and for years afterward had carried a shadow over relationships, never daring to easily step into one again.
With feeling, my cousin's situation has always been a thorn in my heart. Seeing you all join forces to bring this group to justice, honestly, it feels like I've let out a breath I've been holding in on his behalf for years.
Solemnly, once everything here is wrapped up, I'm definitely going to personally visit your cousin and convince him to submit his old evidence too, to make this case's evidence chain even more complete.
To completely sever any connection between herself and her mother's crimes, Su Wanqing proactively asked Chen Man to help her formally sign a statement renouncing any claim to whatever remaining assets under her mother's name might still be recoverable, and cooperated fully with the police in having all the accounts under her name once used to collect dowry payments thoroughly investigated.
Signing the document, expression relieved, I don't want a single cent of this money. Only this way can I truly draw a clean line, with a clear conscience, between myself and this shameful chapter of the past.
Nodding, this is a wise and courageous decision. It's not just an answer owed to the victims, but also a solemn commitment to your own future.
In light of the widespread public attention this case received, the local Civil Affairs Department, together with the Women's Federation, specially convened a forum on standardizing marriage customs and curbing the chaos of sky-high dowries, inviting several media representatives, including Lin Wei, along with legal experts, to participate in the discussion.
Speaking, this case has sounded an alarm for us. Going forward, we will work with multiple departments to further promote marriage custom reforms, advocate for reasonable dowries, and firmly crack down on the corrupt practice of extorting property, or even committing fraud, under the guise of marriage.
Speaking at the forum, I hope forums like this won't just be a one-time formality, but can genuinely translate into a long-term regulatory mechanism, sparing more families from repeating what these victims went through.
After the case fully concluded, Lu Ming, Zhou Jin, Zhao Gang, Sun Lei, Han Dong, and Su Wanqing all agreed to turn this experience into something more lasting. They spontaneously formed a small mutual support group, offering free experience sharing and advice to strangers who suspected they might be facing a similar marriage scam.
Posting in the group. This journey hasn't been easy for any of us. From now on, whenever someone needs help, let's lend a hand whenever we can. It's a way of turning this hardship into something meaningful.
Chiming in, I want to join this group too. After all, I was the one who knew the inside story best back then. If I can help more people recognize a similar scam early, it's also my way of making up for my past silence.
From victims to a support network, this scheme, which began with a sky-high dowry, ultimately gave rise, in a way no one could have predicted, to a warm bond forged across shared pain, watching out for one another. A few months after the case settled, Lu Ming and Chen Man discussed turning this experience into something lasting, launching a small public interest project, offering free basic legal consultation and evidence organizing guidance specifically for ordinary people facing similar marriage-related property disputes or suspected fraud.
To Lu Ming, this project may be small in scale, but as long as it genuinely helps even a few people who feel as lost and helpless as we once did, this effort won't have been wasted.
Nodding. Yeah, we know better than anyone what it feels like to be isolated and helpless in that situation. If we can lend a hand, we should. It's also a way of paying forward the help others gave us back then.
Not long after the project launched, it received its first genuine request for help. A young man facing a similarly outrageous demand for a massive dowry from his girlfriend's family. Under Chun Man and Lu Ming's guidance, he promptly verified the other family's true situation, discovered similarly suspicious signs, and managed to get out in time, avoiding the same fate.
Sending a message of thanks. Thank you so much. If you hadn't reminded me to verify the other family's situation using the methods you taught, I might have ended up suffering the same huge loss you all did back then.
Smiling with relief. Seeing feedback like this makes me feel like that storm, which once nearly left me with nothing, was actually worth it after all.
From that year on, Lu Ming, Su Wanqing, Zhou Zhen, Zhao Gang, Sun Lei, and Han Dong made a pact to gather together every year on the anniversary of the verdict, an unspoken tradition commemorating that special stretch of time that had brought them together and made them look out for each other.
Raising his glass, this is already our third year gathering like this, time really flies. But I don't think this bond between us will ever change, no matter how much more time passes.
Smiling in agreement, this is probably the one thing worth being grateful for, that this whole ordeal left us with a group of friends who've been through life and death together.
Amid clinking glasses and laughter, the scheme that had once nearly shattered everyone's trust and dignity had, by now, transformed into the strongest bond and connection among this group of once strangers. Long after the case had fully concluded, at an industry-sharing event, when asked about the most memorable story of her career, Lin Wei didn't hesitate to bring up this marriage fraud case.
At the sharing event, in all my years as a journalist, what's left the deepest impression on me has always been this case, not because it was so bizarre, but because of the courage those ordinary people showed in setting aside their shame and fear to stand up and speak out. That courage deserves to be recorded far more than the news story itself.
The audience below erupted into warm applause, and this once sensational case, along with that precious courage, was solemnly recorded as one of the most significant chapters of Lin Wei's career. Years later, whenever someone brought up that heart-stopping marriage fraud storm to Lu Ming, he would always smile calmly and simply say it was the most expensive, yet most precious, lesson of his life. It taught him that love and marriage should never come with a price tag, and that sincerity and clear-headedness are the only truly priceless gifts in any relationship. Late one night, in her new apartment starting her new life, Su Wanqing picked up her pen and wrote a journal entry, recording her entire journey over the past year or so, transforming from a puppet controlled by others, step by step, into an independent woman truly capable of taking responsibility for her own life.
Reading her journal entry softly aloud, it turns out losing a fake marriage isn't the scary part. What's truly scary is not even having the courage to let it go. Thank you to that storm for finally letting me become the person I actually like being.
The moment she closed her journal, moonlight streamed through the window onto her desk, and for the first time, Su Wanqing's face showed an unprecedented sense of calm and stability, an expression only someone who has truly broken free of their chains can ever wear. Nearly a year later, after repeatedly reading the reports about Lu Ming and the others, Zhang Hao's cousin finally gathered the courage to proactively contact Chen Man, submitting additional evidence of his own scam from years earlier, bringing this year-spanning, far-reaching marriage fraud case to a truly complete conclusion, with nothing left unresolved.
Over the phone, voice slightly choked up, I've held onto this for a full 5 years, never daring to bring it up. Seeing how brave you all were, I finally realized that if it's justice that's rightfully mine, I shouldn't keep enduring it in silence any longer.
Gratified. Cousin, I'm just glad you finally worked through this. All of us brothers walking this path together, in a way, helped you finally let out that breath too.